Good afternoon. Previous class we learnt about the constitutional monarchy, how it was set up after the abolition of the complete monarch. The absolute power of the monarch in the France country. See, after that, the new constitution, when it was framed in 1791, so the new constitution began with a declaration of the rights of man and citizens. And about this, one of the revolutionary journalists, whose name was John Paul Marat, John Paul. So he was commented in his newspaper, which was called as Ran Jew Papal. So it was one of the French newspaper. So it was actually won by the revolutionary journalist Jean Paul Marat. That means the Ran Jew people. That means the friend of the people. The name of the newspaper. So was the friend of the people. So on the constitution which was adopted by the National Assembly. So he was commented on that. He was criticized that constitutions which was drafted by the National Assembly. So in his words we will see how he was commented and expressed his opinion about the constitution which was drafted by the National Assembly. The task of representing the people has been given to the rich. The lot of the poor and oppressed will never be improved by peaceful means alone. So, according to him, the task of representing the people has been given to the rich, of course. So, here, who are going to actually the citizens of the France bifurcated or classified into active citizens and passive citizens. So only the active citizens they have a right to vote. Okay. So here who are there especially the rich class people. And what about the representatives of the poor class and oppressed class? So they were actually never be improved by peaceful means alone. So here we have observed proof of how wealth influences the law. How wealth influences law. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ wealth ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಲಾನ ಹೇಗೆ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲುಯೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ. Yet laws will last only as long as the people agree to obey them. Of course. All the people they are agreed to obey them. And when they have managed to cast off the yoke of the aristocrats, they will do the same do to the other owners of. So again, so there was no a lot of difference between the monarchs and the constitutional monarch according to this gender. Because it was expressed like that. So when they have managed to cast off to the yoke of the what we call the aristocrats, so they will do the same to the other owners of wealth. So there was no changes. So it is actually one of the interpretation which was actually expressed by the revolutionary journalist Jean Paul Marat in his newspaper. Okay. Now let us discuss about the political symbols. The political symbols. See, dear students, so during the 18th century, the majority of the people, including all men and women in the France, the France country, so they could not read or write. The most of the majority of the population, so they were illiterate. So here the images and symbols were frequently used instead of printed words to communicate important ideas. To communicate important ideas through the images and symbols. So they were used because the most of the men and women in France during the 18th century they could not read and write. And how can they understood? So here they were used frequently the different instead of the printing materials, so they were used the different symbols and images to communicate especially the important ideas. See, please observe your textbook page number 12 and 13. Okay, so there are symbols and even so there are the explanation for those symbols also. If they are observed, if they are seeing those symbols means so they are understanding in that. See the painting by Le Barbier. Okay, so page number you see that 8. He was uses many such symbols to convey the content of the Declaration of Rights. Especially, so some of the symbols, so just I request you look at the page number 12 and 13. So there are the few symbols which are expressing the different or give the different messages. So there we can see the broken chain. The broken chain. See, the broken chain indicates that usually we all of you knows that chains were used to fetter slaves. Fetter slaves. Okay. So a broken chain, so it's a stand for the act of becoming free. The act of becoming free. That means the slaves they were going to become a free. This is what if they observed that the broken chains. So the chains were actually used to fetter the slaves. A broken chain stands for the act of becoming free. Okay, and the second one, the bundle of rods or fasces. The bundle of rods. The bundle of rods. See, here one rod can be easily broken. What we call unity in strength. ಒಂದು ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ if you are going to grow or if you are going to break easily. Okay, but not an entire bundle. If you are going to get the entire bundle of rods, whether is it possible to break? So it's too difficult. So that shows that the bundle of rods stands for strength lies in unity. So unity ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ so it is in strength. So unity in strength. Okay. So the bundle of rods that stand for so unity in strength. Okay. And you see that the third one, the eye within a triangle radiating light. Within a triangle radiating light. The eye within a triangle radiating light. ಸೊ ಆ ಒಂದು ತ್ರಿಕೋನಾಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕಾಶಮಾನವಾದ ಬೆಳಕಿನ ಸೂಸ್ತಾ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಣ್ಣಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್ ನೋ ಸೊ ದ ಆಲ್ ಸೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಐ so stands for knowledge. So the rays of the sun will drive away the clouds of ignorance. So that's what the eye within a triangle radiating the light that stands for knowledge. Understood now? Now the scepter. So please you see that the scepter, there is the symbol of royal power. The scepter. Okay. So this shows that the symbol it stands for the symbol of royal power. Means supreme. That is the symbol of supreme power or royal power. Now, the next one, snake biting its tail to form a ring. Snake biting its tail to form a ring. So, this symbol stands for eternity. A ring has neither beginning nor end. So, this stands for eternity. And the another one, the red pigeon cap. Red cap ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, so please you see that. So actually this cap owned by a slave upon becoming free. So cap owned by a slave upon becoming free. Now the next symbol, you please see that blue white red. So the blue white red, the tricolor was the national colors of France. The national colors of France, blue, white and red. So these stands for so the national colors of France country. And the winged woman, the winged woman. So it is actually personification of the law. The winged woman stands for, it's actually the personification of the law. And the law tablet, the law tablets. So the law is the same for all and all are equal before it. The law tablet, so it was a stand for all are equal before it. So ಕಾನೂನಿನ ಮುಂದೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಮಾನರು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. So like this, dear students, so during the 18th century, so the most of the people, those who are unable to or those could not read or write, so with them to communicate, so frequently they were used instead of printed materials to communicate important ideas and knowledge. So through these the different symbols. I hope you all have understood. So I request you, please go through your textbook and see carefully page number 12 and 13, and you are getting so the complete idea of the different images and symbols and how they are going to be stamped. Now let us discuss, after establishment of the constitutional monarchy, so what kind of the situation so we can observe or found in the France. See, the situation in France so continued to be tense during the following years. Especially, so the France completely abolishes afterwards monarchy and France becomes a republic. France becomes a republic. So now, after that, what happened? After the implementation of the constitutional monarchy, when it was began in the France, so even though what happened, the Louis XVI had signed the constitution. It was accepted and even so, which was prepared by the National Assembly, the constitution. So it was signed by the Louis XVI. Okay, and after so Louis XVI, so he was entered into a secret negotiation with the king of Prussia. So ರಹಸ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಗೆ ಸಹಿ ಮಾಡಿದ ಮೇಲೂ ಸಹ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನಲ್ ಮೊನಾರ್ಕಿಯನ್ನ ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡ ಮೇಲೂ ಸಹ ಸೊ ದ ಲೂಯಿಸ್ 60, so he was entered into secret negotiation with the king of Prussia. ಪ್ರಷ್ಯಾದ ರಾಜನ ಜೊತೆ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಜೊತೆ ಅವರು ರಹಸ್ಯ ಒಪ್ಪಂದವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. See, the rulers of other neighboring countries also too worried. So they were also too were worried by the developments in France and made plans to send troops to put down the events that had been taking place there since the summer of 1789. So 1789 ಇಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಆಗಿರೋ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕುರಿತು ಸೊ ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಂತಹ ಉಳಿದ ಇತರ ರೂಲರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಸಹ ಬಹಳ ಅವರಿಗೆ ವರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇ ವರ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಸೋ ಟೆನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಒಪ್ಪಂದಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಸೊ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಟ್ರೂಪ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಮಿಲಿಟರಿ ಟ್ರೂಪ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವರು ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ to attack on France against the constitutional monarchy. Already we all of knows that actually. So the King Louis he was actually secretly negotiated with the King of Prussia also. Now, before this could happen, this is what the remarkable thing. So before send the troop by the other neighboring countries to enter the France. So the National Assembly voted in April 1792. National Assembly ನಲ್ಲಿ vote ಹಾಕಿ ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. So about the declare. So what was the declare? So it was against Prussia and Austria. So before this could happen, the National Assembly voted in April 1791 and to declare for what they were voted no, to declare war against Prussia and Austria. So Prussia ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ವಾರ್ ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಜನಮತ ಗಣನೆಯನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ವೋಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಭಿಮತವನ್ನ ಸಂಗ್ರಹಿಸ್ತಾರೆ 1792 ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಸೊ ದ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಅಸೆಂಬ್ಲಿ it was a declared war on Prussia and Austria. ಪ್ರಷ್ಯಾ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಲೂಯಿಸ್ he was actually ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ರಹಸ್ಯ ಒಪ್ಪಂದವನ್ನ ಇವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಟೈಮ್ ದ ಥೌಸಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ thronged from the provinces to the join the army. ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಥೌಸಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಥೌಸಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕರು ಸೊ ತಾವೇ ಬಂದು ಮಿಲಿಟರಿಗೆ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. So they saw this as a war of the people against kings and aristocracy. So these common people, so they saw this war which was declared by the National Assembly. So this war was actually against the kings and aristocracies. Are you getting now? So the many of the people, the thousands and the thousands of the common people, so they were also joined. Those were from the different provinces. They were also joined the army, and they were also this as a war of the people against king and aristocracies. ಇದು ಜನರ ಮತ್ತೆ ರಾಜಪ್ರಭುತ್ವದ ನಡುವೆ ನಡೆಯತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹೋರಾಟ ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾವಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಹ ಸೊ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ಟು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ದ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಅಸೆಂಬ್ಲಿ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅರಿಸ್ಟೋಕ್ರಸಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್. ಸಿ it's actually whether it was happened in the France, but it was influenced all over the Europe, the entire Europe, the all people they were observed, they were felt like that. So this is what the war against the kings and aristocracies all over the Europe. So among the patriotic songs they sang was the Marseillaise. ಸೊ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸೊ ಆ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ನ ಇವತ್ತು ಏನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಸ್ ಅ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಆಂಥಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ದ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಆಂಥಮ್ ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ಬೈ ದೋಸ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ ವಾಸ್ ಕಂಪೋಸ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ ರೊಗೆಟ್ ಡೆ ಇಲ್ಲೆ. ಸೊ ರೊಗೆಟ್ ಡೆ ಇಲ್ಲೆ ಅವರು ಕಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಆ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಗೀತೆ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಅದು ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ನ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗೀತೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ ವಾಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಸೆಲೈಸ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸೊ the first time this song was sung by the volunteers from the Marseillaise. From that place they were sung the first time, all the volunteers. So that's what it was well known as the Marseillaise only. ಆ ಹೆಸರಿಂದನೇ ಅದನ್ನ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. Now also the Marseillaise is become the national anthem of France country. See, the revolutionary wars brought losses and economic difficulties to the people. Of course, dear students, during the war time, so it was a very common. So there we can found the losses and even the difficulties, especially even for the common people also. So the revolutionary war, which was started people against the kings and the aristocracies. So it was brought losses and economic difficulties also to the people. So while the men were away fighting at the front, the women were left to cope with the task of earning a living and looking after their families. The condition of the poor class family families so became so vast. So why? Because now so the men were away fighting at the front. ಸೊ ಆ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪುವರ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆ ಒಂದು ಆ ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಹ ಯುದ್ಧಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗಿಯಾಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಯಂ ಪ್ರೇರಿತರಾಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಟೈಮ್, ಸೊ ದ ವುಮೆನ್ ವರ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಟು ಕೂಪ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಅರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲುಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದೇರ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲೀಸ್. The entire responsibility of the families that goes to the woman's shoulder. ಆ ಒಂದು ಅರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಈವನ್ ಸೊ ಆ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಬೇಕಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಯ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆ ಒಂದು ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಆ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳ ಹೆಗಲ ಮೇಲೆ ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ. See, the large sections of the population were convinced that the revolution had to be carried further, as the Constitution of 1791 gave political rights only to the richer sections of society. That we have to observe. See, the Constitution of 1791, so which was provided political rights only for the richer section of the society. The rest of the people, so they were completely neglected, and the political rights were denied by the Constitution of 1791. But even the common people also, they were participated in the war in a front. Then the entire responsibility goes to the women and their shoulders, so to cope with the task of earning a living and even looking after their families also. See, the political clubs became an important rallying point for people who wished to discuss government policies and plan their own forms of actions. So during the time, so there were so many political clubs were framed or established, and so they were discussed the political rally and the issues and even the government policies and so on and so forth. And one of the among there are several the political clubs. Among these political clubs, so one of the famous and successful political club was that Jacobean Club. See, the Jacobean Club, which got its name from the former convent of Saint Jacob in Paris. See, women too who had been active throughout this period and formed their own clubs also women's. So the section of this chapter, I mean the fourth chapter of this unit, I mean ಈ ಒಂದು ನಾಲ್ಕನೇ ಭಾಗ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಟೆಲ್ ದ ಮೋರ್ activities and demands of these women clubs also. Now let us discuss about how the Jacobean club it's become so prosperous and even the important the unit of the society. Let us discuss in the next class. Thank you. Have a nice day.